We want to welcome you all to the DC Department of Insurance, Securities, and Banking Financial Services Clinic for Seniors. This clinic is the inspiration of our commissioner, Mr. Stephen C. Taylor, and I'm going to have him come up and provide us with some welcoming remarks. So, ladies and gentlemen, Commissioner Stephen C. Taylor.
Thanks very much, Idris, for the kind welcome. Good morning, everyone. On behalf of Mayor Bowser and the Department of Insurance, Securities, and Banking, also known as DSIB, I want to extend a warm welcome to everybody here and thank you all for coming out to DSIB's first financial services clinic. The clinic has been tailored to meet the needs of our seniors today. Many thanks to the Hattie Holmes Wellness Center for hosting us here this morning here in wonderful Ward 4. Some of you here may not be familiar with our agency. Well, we serve as the financial services regulator for the District of Columbia. We make sure insurance companies and other financial services companies operating in the District of Columbia play fair and follow the law. Consumer protection is one of our primary responsibilities. The best consumer protection, though, is an educated consumer. Thus, our work often is focused on ensuring that you have the resources to make good financial decisions and protect yourself against fraud and financial fraud and other scams. Our financial services clinics support Mayor Bowser's financial fitness initiative. That program seeks to enhance the financial capabilities of residents by providing opportunities such as the one that we have here this morning for you to help you make the best financial choices. That is why we have to put together this wonderful program this morning to help to improve your financial fitness, which is important at any age. I encourage you to take full advantage of the program this morning. All the presentation topics have been carefully selected for the district's senior community. After the formal presentations, you will have the opportunity to meet with our experts assembled here and ask any questions you may have. We encourage your full participation throughout the event today. Remember, we are here for you, so please do not hesitate to ask any questions at any point. With that, I'm going to introduce Tony Miles, the Associate Commissioner for Securities, to come up. He will start our conversation today on the various financial services topics impacting seniors and how living longer, which of course is a wonderful thing, is changing your financial outlook. So again, thank you for being here today, and please consider DSIB as your financial services resource for the District of Columbia. Again, please help me welcome Tony Miles to the stage.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome again to DISB's Senior Financial Clinic, and we hope it'll help you to get your questions answered and give you useful information. Again, Commissioner Taylor, thank you for the introduction. I'm Theodore Miles, also known as Tony Miles. I'm the Associate Commissioner of the Securities Bureau at DISB. And during this first portion of the program, our intention is to provide information in presentation form for seniors about various financial issues. First, a couple of background pieces of information. You may not know that the Census Bureau has projected that people age 65 are expected to live another 19.3 years. So do the math. That'll take you into a good long life. And indeed, in the district in 2014, there were over 71,000 households, with the head of the household being 65 years or older. Now, how many of you here are living in your own homes? Just show of hands. Okay, that is very impressive, and it's a great place to be in. One of the things we're trying to get to is what they call aging in place. It doesn't just happen. It requires some planning and some assistance on the financial side and the physical side. A number of district households, 10,000 plus, have grandparents living with their grandchildren. How many of those situations do we have here? Okay, all right. Thank you, Grandpa. We talked about aging in place, and that is really the flavor of the month. And as Commissioner Taylor mentioned, the mayor has a number of initiatives to try to make that possible and to make it really work well for people that want to do that, because I think the research shows that people live longer and their quality of life is better when they can do that. Another factor that we want to mention, it's unpleasant but it's important, is not just that as you get old you lose some of your speed, you can't run at the 100-yard as fast as you used to, but your mind may slow down. And I'm sure some of you know people or have family members or neighbors who are experiencing some significant loss of mental capacity. And that can be a painful thing, and it is something that we are encouraging people to think about while they are still thinking about it. So people who are older and possibly losing capacity, unfortunately, are often the victims of financial fraud practitioners, if you will. We call them fraudsters, scam artists. We have other names for them that I can't repeat up here. But we're going to talk about some of those techniques so that you'll be aware of them and you can prevent yourself from being a victim. So we're looking at how the landscape of living longer and changes in the retirement patterns can affect people's financial lives. And so we're going to cover in depth 3 topics with presentations, but I want to emphasize, as the Commissioner said, we have people here from a number of offices in our department who are experts in various financial areas, insurance, banking, etc. And if you have a question and it involves your money, your assets, please come forward or raise your hand or write it out, and we will do our best to answer it here. And if we are not able to do that, we will make sure to get you the answer. So with that, let me just introduce our distinguished panel. The speakers today, I'll introduce them all now so that and you can applaud at any point. First of all, my good friend Margarita Cheng will discuss real-world planning for living on retirement. Rita, as she's known, is the Chief Executive Officer at Blue Ocean Global Wealth. She is a certified financial planning professional, a chartered retirement planning counselor. These are certifications that you have to earn. You study, you are granted the certificate. It means you know something about what you're talking about. She is also, I hope this doesn't apply to any of you, but she is a certified divorce financial analyst. Now, maybe it might apply to some of your younger kids, or I'm not sure. Anyway, but that is in her capacity as an ambassador of what we call the CFP Board of Standards. Rita helps to educate the public and policymakers and the media about the benefits of competent, ethical financial planning, what it means for someone to be a fiduciary. So we're so glad that Rita could share this information with us today. Help me welcome Rita. And next is Ron Clarkson. Just wave, Ron. And Ron is from Housing Counseling Services. He's the Director of Communications and Outreach for Housing Counseling Services. It's a nonprofit organization that provides comprehensive housing counseling, training, and advocacy. The service also is partners with our department to provide foreclosure prevention and mediation services in the district. Today, Ronald is here to talk about reverse mortgages. I'm sure you've seen the ads on TV, and you wondered, well, would this work for me? Well, he can give you some good insights into that. Please help me to welcome Ron. And our last speaker, I would say by no means least because I work with him every day, is Greg Marcil. Greg is the acting commissioner of the Enforcement and Consumer Protection Bureau, and his office goes after the bad guys. They do their best to send people to jail if they have messed with you. So get a good look at Greg. He is important to keeping the district's residents protected. He has been with our department since 2002, managing financial fraud investigations and their referrals for criminal and civil prosecution. He's retired from the military, where he served as special agent with the U.S. Criminal Investigation Command, the Army's Criminal Investigation Command. So he looked at a number of white-collar and economics, narcotics, and violent criminal incidents, so he can cover the waterfront. And he was assigned within the U.S. and overseas. I know he was in Italy for a while and other places as well. So again, Greg, welcome. So without my further ado, I want Rita to come to the podium, and just remember, you're free, if you have a question during a presentation, raise your hand. We'll try to take it as it comes so everybody will be able to follow the discussion. Thank you.
Well, it's a pleasure to be here today. Thanks so much for having me. So this topic is very near and dear to my heart. Thank you so much for the warm introduction. I am first and foremost a certified financial planner, but when Tony read off all those letters after my name, there's a reason why I have those letters after my name. As a CFP, or Certified Financial Professional, we have to do continuing education. And I'm not the type of girl that just wants to check a box and be done with it. Can you believe it? I have a 20-year-old and a 17-year-old. And while they were doing homework, it would be rude if I had the TV. So I studied just as much as they studied. So now that they've both graduated high school and well on their college career, I don't know that I have to study that much. But in all seriousness, the topic of wellness and retirement is very near and dear to my heart. I became a planner in 2000. And at the time, my mom was 53 and my dad was 68. My mom was a baby. 53 is young. Madonna's 56, 57 today. And I had a 2-year-old, almost 3, and a 6-month-old. And at that time, I encouraged my parents to plan. Now, a little bit about me. My name is Margarita Maria Chang. My dad is Chinese, my mom is American. And in my culture, it's acceptable for the kids kind of take charge. And why am I sharing this with you? When my mom was 53 and my dad was 68, I encouraged them to plan. So my dad had a pension. When he retired at IBM, he got a pension at age 60. And so from ages 60 to 70, my dad worked as a consultant. And I sat my parents down. I said, we need to have the talk. And my mom said, well, long-term care insurance, that's for old people. I'm like, Mommy, don't worry, you're still young and beautiful, but we need to talk about this because if this is something that you want to do, Dad needs you to apply at the same time so you get a spousal discount. So fast forward 5 years later when my dad was 73, my dad had a series of falls. It wasn't cancer, but it was Parkinson's disease. I lost my dad last year. 2015, and my dad became very ill at the age of 70 and 79. I took my dad to every doctor's appointment because he couldn't drive, and I'm not saying this to say I'm so great, but when we don't plan, it doesn't mean things aren't going to happen, and when we do plan, it doesn't mean that they will. But I'm standing here to say that I really do praise the supreme beings above for giving me the courage to have those conversations with my parents. And I feel as a planner that gives me a lot of credibility. So I don't have this like long, boring PowerPoint presentation, but retirement today is not your parents' retirement. And there's a huge connection between health and wealth. And we are all here to answer your questions and to support you. If you have any questions, you need to call, email. I want to make sure that your experience with the planner is positive. I'm not here to sell you anything. I believe strong households lead to strong communities, and we have stronger communities, we all benefit. So that's just a little bit context. As far as living in retirement, I do know that many of us will live a long, beautiful life in retirement. And as I explained to clients, who would ever thought that longevity is a risk or a bad thing? But as Tony mentioned, it's not unusual for people to be living 19 years in retirement. My grandmother passed away at age 94, but she lived independently till age 92. And I'm just sharing this, that retirement is in phases. So I can't take credit for this saying. It's the go-go years in the beginning where you're going to travel and your expenses may be very similar to what you're paying. Then maybe the slow-go years, you're not doing as much, and then the no-go years. So I think at the end of the day, it doesn't necessarily pay to wait when it comes to Social Security, but it pays to be educated. So Social Security is going to be the foundation and pension income of your retirement. But then it's going to be personal savings. Maybe some of you have a part-time job. And then, I don't want to steal anybody's thunder, managing your assets or reverse mortgage will bring that all together. So I think that it's really important for you to think, gosh, I'm 70, I've been retired for 10 years, it's too late for me. I'll just close with this story. So I have a client that worked for the DC government and she retired at age 65. She was a single mom, sent 3 children to college, so all her children have degrees. But when it came time to retire, pension income, Social Security, it wasn't just quite enough. But she did need some downtime because that's what a financial planner does. Financial planner looks at your resources and where you want to go and finds out what's important to you. And I said, you should take some time off. And she did take time off and she said, Rita, I'm feeling fresh. So we worked together and I said, you know what about working part-time? So she did work part-time. She's 70 now. She works 3 days a week. And I mean it, you're never too late. It's never too late to plan. And she just set up a Roth IRA. And 70 is not old because guess what? Her mom is 88. So I'm just gonna stop there because I wanna make sure everyone gets a chance. But that's why I'm here. I'm here to lead, inspire, and empower you to take charge and be confident of your financial future. If you have a quick question at the end, so.
Good morning, everybody. All right. Let's see. Yes, as has been said, my name is Ronald Clarkson. I'm with Housing Counseling Services. We're a nonprofit organization here in D.C., and we serve all of D.C., Maryland, and Virginia. We've been doing so for almost 45 years now, and as a result, we've seen the kind of cycles in the housing market. And one of those cycles is heavily impacted these days, as we know, by the population demographics. And as we know, many of us are getting older. And an aspect of housing that has become more and more important and significant is stable housing for all of us, and for our seniors in particular. One thing that we like to do is to make sure people have all the information necessary to make the decisions for themselves about how they choose to live, especially in the later years. And that includes dealing with a reverse mortgage. How many people have seen advertisements or gotten phone calls saying, now's the time to get a reverse mortgage? Okay? And how many of you have gotten more than one call? All right, and how many of you expect to get another call next week? Okay, and so many times what happens and what we see from people coming into our office
is that these repeated calls build up an impression within our minds that we're sitting on a gold mine. And I need to do something with this. Yeah, I've got an ATM machine or something at my disposal. They're telling me, they keep calling me, I must have all this resource. I need to spend it. But we encourage you to think more carefully about it than that, okay? Don't get caught up in the hype, as that old saying is. Think a little bit about your own personal circumstance, and also when it comes to a reverse mortgage, you want to think about your heirs. That's a very important piece of this puzzle. I had a call last week from a woman who was the grown daughter whose mother had passed away in April. And the daughter knew her mom had a reverse mortgage but didn't know the implications of it. And so she was calling us nearly in tears. I want to keep my family's house. It's been in our house for a couple of generations. I want to keep it, but I'm hearing with this reverse mortgage thing that I might not be able to. Okay? Now, if they had had a conversation beforehand and talked about it, then they could both understand what the intent was in getting that reverse mortgage and what the plans would be for the future for all of them. Okay? And that's what we want to see, is to have that family discussion. But I will say this, and hopefully not disparaging anybody in this room, we do oftentimes see where family members are taking advantage of other family members. And we try to counsel against that as well. And so we're trying to be neutral and educate people so that they can make the best decisions for themselves. And also, while everybody's in the room, and the homeowner and their family, spreading that light, if you will, for everybody. Like, okay, these are the implications of a reverse mortgage, and this is what it could mean for your heirs. This is what it means for you, and you need to know this is what the heirs will experience after you are gone. And I'll go into just briefly a little bit with a reverse mortgage, in that it is a mortgage that will allow you to stay in your home, and it's planned to allow you to stay in your home until you pass away, okay? And they do that financially by first making sure that there is more equity in the home than there are debts against the home, okay? And also in making sure that you think through how much money you're going to need, okay, in order to live successfully for whatever number of years you anticipate. The loans are generally planned out to be 100-year loans, or till you are 100, I should say, excuse me. And so they the banks work the numbers so that it works out that way financially, and you receive some money for that. But you have to still pay property taxes. The money that you're taking against your home is in the form of a loan, and you also incur interest on that loan. Okay, so there's some outstanding debts that are incurred with a reverse mortgage. That debt has to be paid off even when you pass away. Okay, and so that debt is what your heirs are dealing with. So either they will keep the home and pay that debt themselves out of their own pocket, or they will sell the home to pay that debt off. Okay? And so what that means is if they haven't planned financially for a way to keep that home, then they're left with the recourse of having to sell that home to pay that debt. That's what they're wrestling with. And some of them didn't know that in advance, and so they didn't plan for that. And that's why I get a call like I did last week. All right? A couple of things you need to know about reverse mortgages. One is you are required to obtain housing counseling from a certified home equity conversion mortgage counselor. That's what a reverse mortgage is known as, a home equity conversion mortgage, or HECM, okay? So by federal law, you're required to get that counseling. My organization is one of the few organizations like it in the metro area that has certified home equity conversion mortgage counselors on staff. There are very few counseling agencies that have such counselors on staff. It's an intense certification process, and not everybody can get through it successfully. But we do have those on staff, and we provide that counseling for free. There are some organizations that will charge you up to $125 for that counseling session. All right, so we're saving you money off the bat, okay? We get the referrals from many lenders. We also get people calling us for that counseling. And so that's something else that you can get right away. In addition, we provide education opportunities. Every month, we have two reverse mortgage counseling sessions at our organization. I encourage you, if you haven't already, to get the purple flyer that's sitting at the table, okay? And we provide these educational opportunities twice a month. One if you are thinking about a reverse mortgage, and one if you've already received a reverse mortgage and maybe want to get back up to speed on it because you haven't thought about it in a few years, or your heirs may need to learn more about it. It's good to send them to that session, okay? And so we do it twice a month. They're free, once again. We do encourage you to register in advance, and we have a website, and that information's on the flyer where you can register, okay? And so the counseling staff will set up appointments with you either at that session or in advance, and you can arrange to sit down with the counselor. And you don't have to be getting a reverse mortgage to get the counseling. Okay, you can get the counseling up front before, even if you're just thinking about it. I've gotten all these calls, I think I could take advantage of this, but I want to learn more about this. You can sit down with the counselor and have that discussion, all right? But the counseling is required, all right? And heirs need to be educated as well. Okay, those are two things that I really want to make sure everybody comes away with. A lot of times we want to do things, you know, it's like, I want to do this. I don't really want my heirs to know my business. I don't want everybody to know my stuff. Okay, well, one of my heirs is sitting right here in this room. All right, she knows a lot of my business. Not everything, but a lot. But understand that you do have to have those discussions. As has been mentioned previously about having the discussions to plan retirement, you need to have those discussions as well when it comes to that estate planning, which this is a part of, and reverse mortgage is a part of that estate. So you need to have that discussion then as well. But I'm going to leave it there for now. Once again, I'll be glad to talk with everybody. I know we're going to have the discussion sessions. And once again, just a reminder to please make sure you get one of our flyers at the information table. Thank you very much.
I have an heir as well. Suppose I have a reverse equity mortgage, and then I basically die. How does my heir retain the property?
Once again, they have to plan financially for how they're going to handle the outstanding debt that's on that property. And so they should have some resource set aside to try to pay off that debt, okay? Or they need to have a plan of working with other, because oftentimes there's more than one heir, and we wrestle with those situations as well. The group of heirs need to get their heads together and talk about how we're going to retain this home. It's going to have to be a payment of some kind made in order to keep that home if you have a reverse mortgage. You have incurred a debt. That debt has to be paid. It will either be paid with a lump sum of cash or with the sale of that home.
Can they just simply refinance the mortgage into their name?
Into the heir's name?
Yes.
Okay. That can be complicated. I don't want to give a yes or no with that right away because different situations have different ramifications on that. But refinance is a possible option. But that's something that can be complicated for different reasons. But yes, that is one option. I saw a hand.
Yeah, but wouldn't the heir have to qualify financially to be able to pay,
Yes.
to pay that loan?
Right. What? In order to get a reverse mortgage? Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. The question was, do you have to qualify in order to get that loan, be qualified? And the answer to that is yes, you do. There are federal regulations that govern reverse mortgages, and one of those regulations requires that the lender do what's known as underwriting. Basically, nowadays they want to make sure that you can pay the property taxes and homeowners insurance on that property. They want to make sure that you can do that and that you've done it successfully. And so they want to see a history of having made payments on other loans in a timely fashion so that they can demonstrate that you can pay property taxes and homeowners insurance. And yes, you do have to be qualified. They're going to look at credit scores. They're going to look at all of that, okay? And so yes, that is an important piece of it. I don't know how long I'm supposed to go. I have more questions coming up. And am I okay? Keep going? Okay.
After you are reverse mortgage, can you purchase another property while you're in reverse mortgage?
Okay, while you're in a reverse mortgage, can you purchase a second property? Yes, you can. Okay. But once again, there's underwriting that's going to be done to make sure that you can accommodate both. Okay? So yes, you can. But the resources are going to be limited for most individuals doing that. Yes. Right. The question is, if you have a tenant in your dwelling, can you do a reverse mortgage? You can. Okay, that's part of your income is factored in to that whole underwriting process. But that does not hinder your ability to get a reverse mortgage. Yes, sir.
I've heard that some lenders charge fees, and they're disclosed in writing, but it's in the fine print, and that some people have been surprised by some of these fees.
Absolutely. One of the points that was raised was the implication of fees in reverse mortgages, and that some people have been surprised by fees in reverse mortgages. And that's absolutely true. And that's one of the reasons why counseling is required. Okay, because a counselor will go over the loan documents with you, make sure you understand them, make sure you see where fees are being applied, and that you know exactly what you're getting in that loan process and what you're paying for in that loan process. Yes, ma'am.
If I understand it, one of the requirements for reverse mortgage is that you have to live in the home. If someone does it in reverse mortgage, something happens that you no longer live in this home, they have to go to assisted living, then what happens next?
Right. So the question is, if an individual, well, one of the requirements of a reverse mortgage is that the individual must live in their home. And the question was, what happens if that individual has to leave that home for health reasons, maybe going into a nursing home situation or something like that? To be honest with you, I don't know the answer to that question. And I will have one of our counselors address that, and I can get back to you on that. I'm not the reverse mortgage counselor, but I will definitely have that person give me that answer, and I can get back to you on that. Yes, ma'am.
I've heard that there is some kind of stipulation where you can leave your money in once you get the reverse mortgage, leave it in an account for some specific amount of time, but they withdraw the interest from that money. Is that true?
Basically, the question is, the understanding of this individual is that money is set aside in a reverse mortgage, and that money can be drawn from that account, that money is set aside in order to pay the interest on the loan. And that part is true, in that money can be set aside in what's known as a escrow account, okay? And money can be drawn from that escrow account in order to pay interest on the loan. And that's one way to set it up so that you can make sure those payments are done on a regular basis, especially as an individual ages and they're worried about their ability to make payments on a regular basis. One thing I will say is that there are plus sides to a reverse mortgage, in that it allows people to live in the home, the age in place we've heard about. There are many people who have not set up any type of plan for their living circumstances beyond retirement. This allows some people to live in their homes, live out the rest of their lives in their homes in a place they're comfortable with until they pass, okay? And so for them in their own living circumstances, this could be a good thing, all right? But it does have negative implications for heirs, okay? So you have to understand, a person in their own living you have to have a roof over your head. And so some people need that as need their home to do that. And if they're beyond their earning capacity years, this allows them to do that. Any other questions? Thank you.
What an interesting topic that reverse mortgage is. Ronald, he's an expert, does a fine job. And this is why we have these clinics, so we can get together and you can make an informed decision on your financial planning. You're the one who sets the future on this. So, thanks again, Ronald. I'm going to discuss fraud. And there's fraud in reverse mortgages, too. We have an open investigation on reverse mortgages. People are getting hit with fees on a weekly, sometimes daily basis that don't exist. They're very illegal fees. So all this information just ties in together. So take advantage of us while we're here. I've been an investigator my entire adult career. I know the district pretty well, too. Tony said I was with the Army Criminal Investigation Command. When I retired, I ended up working for Baird Prettyman with the Inspector General's office for 4 years here, under the Barry and Williams administrations. And from there, I joined DISB and have seen the ins and outs of the district. So I hope I can impart a few things that I've seen over the years here in the district. I enjoy working here in the district. I feel that I provide you folks a decent community to live in because we seek out these bad people who are trying to take your money. And over the years, we've been pretty good about it. I'm going to start with slide 7. Now, our department, DISB, is a financial service regulator in the district and also the consumer advocate. My division is the Enforcement and Consumer Protection Division. Consequently, I'm here to impart a few things in regards to fraud. One of the priorities in our division is to fight fraud and prevent fraud against senior citizens. And we do that in several ways. This clinic is one example on how we do it. We do complaint resolution, and we do investigations of fraud. Now, complaint resolution, over the past 11 years, to give you an example, Lee Backus, who you can talk to after our presentations here, he heads up the division of complaints, and he has returned almost $1 million to district citizens in regards to their complaints about their insurance policies, securities issues with their investment advisors or broker-dealers. And to give you an idea about our investigations of fraud, over that same period, our investigations in coordination with the Metropolitan Police Department and the federal law enforcement agencies like the FBI and the U.S. Postal Inspector Service, through the criminal courts, had restitution of over $54 million. We had recoveries of over $6 million, and the courts meted out fines of almost $1 million. So we feel we've been very, very successful in what we do. If you turn to slide 8, I'm going to talk about spotting financial scams, financial frauds. I'm going to go over a few case studies that have come into our office and we've investigated. And we want you to know where to report these scams when you spot them. I'm going to give you a general overview on how bad this fraud is. The top national scams, as identified by the U.S. Senate Committee on Aging, is the IRS. The number one is the IRS impersonation scam. These are people that call you up and say, you owe back taxes and you better pay it now. And they put the fear of God in you, basically. However, there are a few things you should know about this IRS scam. The IRS will never initiate a call to you directly. Everything is done by mail. So that's one thing you need to know. The second thing you need to know is they never demand information. They will call you up and say, come on over to our office and discuss this problem that we have. They will never ask for a credit card number over the phone. And they will never, ever threaten you with arrest by the local police. The IRS doesn't work that way. So what you've seen here is bad guys are bad guys impersonating a legitimate government agency, using government terms. Sometimes in the mails they do legitimate looking logos, and you've got to respect that. And they play on your honesty from that aspect. So be aware of that. The second most reported scam in the United States is the Jamaican lottery or the Sweepstakes scam. Now, what are they preying on here? They're preying on a couple of things. They're preying on your desire to make a quick dollar. They say, hey, this is really great. I won the lottery. And they also prey on your search for a bargain. There's bargains out there, and I'll get into some of the other aspects of that point. But this is quick money, and they've got you hooked. And to give you an example on this, over a 2-year period, let me see where it is. Over a 2-year period, they did 30,000 calls a day from 2013 to 2014 and stole about $300 million from the callers. It's kind of shocking when you think about it. And what's even worse, they also have a scheme where after you realize it's a Jamaican scam and they know they've called you, they call you again as local law enforcement saying, I understand that you've been contacted on the scheme. Please give me your identification, your bank account number, your social security number, and we'll start our investigation. That's the last thing you want to do. You never give personal information or bank account information over a telephone. This is an actual case that we worked in our office that we received from a resident. This is called a grant scam. The individual said, I've been receiving calls from the U.S. government grant department on getting a free grant of $9,000. All I have to do is pay $299 processing fee. Okay. First thing you're going to notice that the person who sent the call called from a 202 area code. So it's a local number. They're using this legitimate government name again, the U.S. Government Grant Department, which doesn't exist. Our investigator will go out, check the address, and verify that it doesn't exist. And of course, you get $9,000 for $299, not a bad deal. This is a bargain. Let me write the check, I'm going to send it. Okay, problem is you never get a grant. This is all part of the bad guy's approach to take your money. Let's go to slide 11. This is the debt collection scam. The caller said, I've been receiving calls demanding payment on an overdue payday loan. The caller stated, I must make the payment now. Now. First flag. And if I don't make the payment now, they're going to increase what I owe, and they're going to come and arrest you. And who's going to arrest you is the Fraud Bureau in Washington, D.C. Now, they called on a 202 area code number again. Now, they could be calling from Alaska or Saskatchewan, Canada, but you're going to see on your caller ID 202 because they spoofed the number, basically, to get your attention and say, well, this must be legitimate. That's where Washington, D.C. is, 202 area code. They'll also use, and in this particular case they did, they also use you and your husband's social security number, which was probably stolen years prior in an identity theft scheme such as Target. I think Target lost millions of customers' identification. So they bought that information somewhere down the line, and they're going to use it against you to make this look proper. So the thing to do on this is, of course, call us and let us know that you receive this and you're going to get arrested by the Fraud Bureau. And we're going to tell you that the Fraud Bureau doesn't exist and not to worry about it. Let's move to slide 12. Here's a local lottery and sweepstakes scam. I received a letter in the mail from the Award Notification Commission, ANC, that I won the lottery. Lucky me. Contact Larry Hurd. Now to receive $1,400,000, all you have to do is pay $12.99. Now, that is just so appealing, you can't help but jump at it. However, what are they doing again here? Award Notification Commission. Sounds official, sounds governmental. ANC initials could be backed up by the Advisory Neighborhood Committee for all I know, because people are just glancing at this and they're not putting their brain in motion because they see $1.4 million for $12.99. Contact Larry Hurd. Larry Hurd, who's Larry Hurd? Well, it's just a common name, sounds professional. He's probably the point of contact. This all sounds really good. Problem is, the $12.99 is a lure. They're gonna hook you like a fish. You're gonna pay your $12.99, then 2 days later, they're gonna call up and say, you know, we really need $500 to move this. So you end up paying the $500, and then you're gonna get another call within 2 days and say, now we need $1,000, and that's the whole point, okay? They've got you hooked, and they're taking money out of your pocket. Be aware, and you'll never receive the reward, by the way. That's important. Slide 13, the last one we'll discuss, is the international investment scam. This is an ongoing investigation in our department where a elderly couple, without their children's knowledge, gave up $500,000 to an old associate who they have known for years to buy into an investment business venture in a gold mine in Africa. This was in 2011. Now, it all sounds silly, doesn't it? But this all sounded so real to this couple because the guy was so smooth, talked him right into it. So this was in November 2011 that they gave this man $500,000. They have yet to receive a penny on their return. So beware. These are things you want to share with the younger folks in your family. These are things you want to share with the older folks in your family. In a case like this is an investment. This person should have called our department, the Department of Insurance, Securities and Banking, and see if this was a legitimate investment deal. Is this individual licensed? Is his product registered with us to do it? And we could have told them no right off the bat and saved themselves $500,000. I think this is the last slide, 14. 14 is the last slide, and we're going to talk do's and don'ts. And it's very simple. When you receive a call, when you receive a suspicious call, when you receive a suspicious piece of the mail, give us a call. The number is very easy to remember. 727, I should be sitting in the crowd. 727-8000. It's in your folder. You can't go wrong if you call it. We'll give you, our staff is ready to take your calls. The investigators will discuss any of these issues with you, and it's all free of charge, so you can't beat it. You take it from the government. It's free. And don't ever give up your personal information, your bank account information, any financial information about yourself to anybody that you don't know over the phone. In fact, if you're going to make a deal at all with somebody that you know, just like the poor folks who gave up $500,000, talk to people in your family, talk to your good friends, call DISB, and you will be able to make an informed decision. Well, that ends my presentation. I appreciate your attention. Thank you very much. Are there any questions? Nobody's been caught by a fraud? Yeah. Yes. Yes, and that's one of our routines that we do, as a matter of fact. We have a series of databases that we go through. Better Business Bureau is one of them. It's always good to call them. If this is the IRS scam, you can go on the IRS website and report the scam. We also go with the Federal Trade Commission's Consumer Sentinel database to report a fraud. And they collect this information on a nationwide basis, and they can take some administrative action or criminal action against these folks. Yes, ma'am.
One time they called me, and I called the district police, and they transferred me to a detective. And he said it's really nothing they can do about it because they buy a block of numbers.
Right, just as I alluded to, that's right.
Right. So, I mean,
Well, the thing is,
from me that I had,
right.
they gave me.
Right. If this guy called from Saskatchewan, Canada, like I said, what we try to do is identify the telephone number. And there are federal agencies that work with the Canadian police that we have worked with in the past and currently do to track down these boiler rooms, basically, and at least neutralize them. If you've given them money, you may never get your money back. But we can certainly take them out of action, basically.
No, they didn't get any money from me.
That's smart.
I had already heard, the news had put that on the news.
Yeah.
When they called, I said, well, I need a way to contact you, so give me something that I can contact you on, and the lady's name. And then that's when I called.
Right.
Gave them that information.
Very smart of you to do that. You can call us, and we will follow up. We will initiate a file, an investigative file, and take a couple steps to see what we can do. Because every referral is a little different to us, so I can't tell you exactly what we're going to do, but we do have tools to use.
So is your number in this book?
727-8000. And all you got to do is state that you have a suspected fraud, and they'll put you in touch with an investigator. Yes, ma'am.
There's also an immigration scam. I received something in my email that tells me if they'll get 6 of my relatives over here for $20,000. But I have 72 hours to pay this $20,000. And I almost fall for it until I called the State Department. Then I called immigration and I gave them the information with the number that they sent me. And they told me it's a scam.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
it looked real good. The way they set it up, it looked really legit.
It's all about, see, they give you a great cover story, but it's all about taking that money, right? That's what it is. And as long as you can see that.
They had some pertinent information. They had my email address. They had my...
That's all readily available. That's all readily available in Google or Bing. Right. And they use that to kind of give them verification in your mind that, oh, this must be legitimate. Must be good. Don't buy into it. Now if you're getting emails, suspicious emails, like a few years ago there was the Nigerian scams, where you won the lottery or whatever it was, just send money. We can work with that. If you save that email, you can send it to us, and we can work with that and perhaps take down the server, the provider who is putting that out, or work with the feds, because they have a department, the Internet Crime Control Center, that handles nothing but internet crime. So we work with them quite closely. So your telephone call is worthwhile to us. Yes, ma'am. Yeah, she said she got a call from Microsoft. There was an issue with her computer, and they wanted to go into their computer, and she was smart enough not to let them in, because once they're in, all your personal information is there. You have to be on your toes.
They're not working want your personal information, but they're gonna charge you for that time that they wanted to recruit. I know
That too.
a friend who did that, and then when they wanted her to pay them, she didn't. They shut her whole computer down. So she had to go get a new computer.
Is that, I think that's called ransomware, if I'm not mistaken. There's some professional hackers out there that can do that. You really just have to be on your toes. You really do. Right. Yeah. Now, the younger folks in your family will also apply for a job on the internet. They'll fill out an application, but the bad guys will intercept that application form and take all of his information before it even gets to where it's supposed to go. It's very, very leery. You have to be on your toes. I think that's it, Kate. Okay. Thank you for your attention.
Greg, thanks again. And why don't we just say thanks again to all of our speakers, to Rita, Ron, and Greg. And we are here. We're here to give you information that you hope will, if it'll be helpful to you. Don't hesitate to ask. We've got a number of people with expertise in different areas. So now I'm going to ask our commissioner to come back to the podium and give you some remarks on the final part of the speaking.
Great. Thank you very much, Tony. Wow, what an engaging conversation. A lot of excellent information. Again, let's thank our speakers, again, Rita, Ronald, and Greg for excellent information. And I also want to thank their organizations as well as AARP, Legal Counsel of the Elderly, is here with us. And as we move into the next segment of the program, we're going to be setting up our table clinics with our experts to give you an opportunity to go out and visit with them, engage in discussion with them, and ask any questions you may have. The topics that the table clinics will cover, actually a good list of topics: health insurance, property and life insurance, Medicare, banking services, estate planning, financial planning, foreclosures and mortgages, financial fraud and scams, and elderly abuse prevention. So again, please make your way around to the tables, talk with folks and engage people, enjoy the conversation. Again, I want to reiterate that we are a resource for you. We are really happy to come out to the community today. Brought a lot of folks from my team. We have an excellent team at DSIB, and this is actually really a great opportunity that we get to come out and actually engage our community and leave our office and come out and actually meet the residents of the District of Columbia. We got to remember, we are a resource for you. We serve you. Again, the number for any other issues, our number is 202-727-8000. Again, that's 202-727-8000. Also, for those folks who like to use the internet, you can get us on our website. A lot of information there as well. You can connect to us there as well as DISB.dc.gov. So again, thank you very much, everybody, for attending, and please enjoy the table clinics. Thank you.